Hi, hello, and welcome to LX2 Codependency Coaching. I am Stella. We are recording on a very cloudy Thursday morning. I used to not enjoy the clouds as much, and then I lived in Ireland, and clouds are awesome because then you appreciate a sunny day in a very different way, which will launch us right into what we're going to talk about today. So, I have a tendency when I begin therapy with clients to, one of their first homework assignments is to give them the opportunity to increase awareness, right? What is awareness? Awareness is directed attention to whatever it is you've been directed to attend to, right? And normally for me, it's pay attention to how you feel before, during, and after, or pay attention to what is the reaction if you say certain things or feel certain things or whatever that is, right? And it was interesting to me as I was thinking about this concept because a lot of times we are unaware of the things, or we intentionally do not direct our attention to certain things, behaviors, feelings, whatever it is. It's specifically feelings, because when a negative feeling happens, or just feelings in general, we tend to be like, I don't have time to deal with that right now. Generally, it's negative. But sometimes it's positive, and it's interesting when we think about how people will not pay attention to the things that are good or positive in their lives, and then will lament about how there's nothing good or positive in their life. I've told you before, I usually encourage clients to start with, on the second session, what's good. So it's directing their attention, increasing awareness, to what is actually positive. And it doesn't have to be the most, amazing thing, but it is encouraging them to pay attention to the simple things that are positive in their life. And when we do that, we start to collect them in the same way that we've been collecting our frustrations or our irritations or, those things that continue to bother us. And I know I've shared it in the past, but when I was a parent of a teenager, I'm a parent of a grown-up now, I used to be very intentional about paying attention to the things that she was doing that were frustrating. And I read a book and talked to some folks, and really then I was actually starting my my counseling program, and it did help me to shift my awareness to the things that were positive, the things that were going well, or the small things that she continued to do that were, that delighted me, that made me happy. And that made her happy. Like, even just paying attention to her happiness made me happy. It was one of the things that I really enjoyed about being a mother. And there weren't many, but there were some. And that's not to say that I didn't enjoy being a mother. I think that I was young and frustrated, and the things that I was attending to was just getting through the day and mostly survival. But one of the things I enjoyed about being a mother was the way that my daughter laughs. She has the best laugh. And it's actually, a familial trait. My sister Juana has the most infectious laugh, and you can hear her from across a crowded room in a big space, and she will get other people to giggle and laugh, and she's always been able to do that. And so that's one of the things that I would pay attention to when I was frustrated or overwhelmed or whatever in being a mom of a teenager, was that sometimes she would still belly laugh and just giggle. And I tried to focus with attention on those things. And it did make a difference. It made a difference in how I related to her. It made a difference in how I saw her. It also made a difference in how I spoke about my parenting experience. And I share that because it is an interesting thing when we are selectively attuned to what is happening around us. Now, I've talked about the automaticity of our lives, the kind of autopilot. We just kind of go the same route to work, drink the same things, like have the same experience. And for some of us, that's grounding, right? Because it's like the one thing that we can control is to make sure that we have, whatever drink we drink in the morning, or whatever breakfast or whatever routine, it does help ground us and prepare us for the day. And I think that's really helpful. But I also acknowledge that when we are in that kind of automated, like time to make the donuts kind of way, it does create a lack of attunement or attention to the things that are happening. And as I was thinking about this, like often at the end of a note, I was like, client has increased their awareness of blah, blah, blah. Or when I write a treatment plan, increase client's awareness of, triggers for anxiety, or attend to the ways that they are feeling and being willing to process through them, right? That's a helpful skill and tool, especially for someone who's lived in fight or flight or survival or just getting by, is one, helping them to attune or pay attention to or increase awareness to the things that are going well or the things that they do well, right? It's interesting to me, and I find it very helpful, obviously, when I work with clients, to help them attune to the things that they are doing well, the coping skills that they have had, and the way that they have gotten through. And a lot of times, when I ask, like, were you an anxious kid? Were you kind of a high-strung human? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I don't think I'm anxious. Like I have these other things, or sometimes I'm just depressed or whatever. Sometimes people are very attuned to their anxiety and then they're just paying attention to that. But they don't recognize that they're lacking motivation, or that, other things are happening. And so again, increasing awareness or creating attunement with what's happening in your body or just in general helps to shift the focus and direct the attention so that we can address it and create some skills and tools to be able to deal with it in a better way. I find it curious, especially now when we are bombarded with information, with a highly configured algorithm to what we are paying attention to, that we just get more and more and more of whatever that is, right? And in a world where things are on fire, there used to be a trailer voice, and those people my age or older will remember that. In a world where blah 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 happens. It's funny because right now I'm a little bit sick, and so I'm feeling better, but like I have this voice. We tend to pay attention to what is directly in front of us. And what we are missing is the broader picture, and how we are not, maybe dealing with some things that shall probably need our attention, or we're missing some of the ways that our interactions or our behavior is affecting other people. And so I find it curious when I'm talking to clients and I ask questions like, well, what was that like to, grow up in this situation? Or it's interesting, as you've told me these stories, what I'm noticing is your pattern and ability to do these things. Or, we've been working together for this amount of time. And what I'm noticing is, last time you shared that you were feeling more motivated, or you were feeling like you were able to get things done more effectively. And, as we talked about these things and unpacked them, it seems like you gained a little bit more confidence in your ability to get through hard things, right? Those just a wide swath of like humans that I've been interacting with lately. And it's curious to me, because as it is my job to intentionally attune to the client in front of me and pay attention to the English words they're saying, sometimes Spanish, porque hablo español también, but to really retell that story, or to reflect to them what I've heard, or what has been my experience in working with them. And it's amazing, like the power and healing that happens when they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that was happening. Or I didn't realize that that's where that unhelpful thought came from, or that unhelpful belief came from, or I didn't realize that I have been able to actually do this whole time. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I heard you say. That increase in awareness of their ability to do things, because to be fair and honest, most of us are just getting through. Most of us are just surviving day to day, time to make the donuts. I get up, I do the thing, whatever. I come home, I make some dinner, I eat some food, I watch some TV, I go to bed. And we're so numbed out because we're overstimulated, or we're overtaxed, or we're overburdened, or we're frustrated, or we just can't feel another thing. So it is helpful to take a break from that constant bombardment, right? As we just come back from, the holiday break, if you happen to get some time off, which I'm really proud of you that you took some, if you did, and hope that you continue to take some more. It's curious to me how many people struggle the first couple days of, and again, the holidays are not the greatest time because they're always busy with other things, right? And there's a lot of stress and whatever that leads up to it. But that first couple days of having nothing to do is really challenging, if that was your experience, because people don't know what to do with their brains. They don't know where to pay attention. Most people will sleep. I've thought about vacation counseling, right? Or vacation therapy. In that first 2 days of reaching the resort or going to the place, being able to check in with a therapist to be like, okay, let me unpack all the stress and difficult things, and then I can enjoy my vacation, right? Then I can sit still and do nothing. Please don't steal that idea. It's copyrighted by Stella Ashton-Brenner, Luna X2 LLC. But I think about that because our attention is so focused on just getting through that we aren't attending to the regular things that happen until there is some kind of discomfort. And I find that interesting, right? Because I recognize that we have a hard time really just paying attention to the things that are happening around us unless it creates discomfort or is so starkly different than what we're used to. And when that happens, then we kind of panic and oh my God, right? It's funny, not funny, haha, it's funny, interesting. But when you move your furniture around and then you go for a glass of water in the middle of the night and you stub your toe, then do you realize, oh shit, everything is moved. Or you forget, right, momentarily because you just woke up. But that's how we function in our lives. It's not until something is so uncomfortable that we have to then look at it and we have to pay attention to it with intention, right? We have to look at it and go, oh, this is directed attention. This is something I have to deal with. It's interesting. I keep saying funny and it's not funny. It's interesting. Curious. A lot of times when people bring a teenager in, it's not until their grades are doing really poorly, or they've had to go into the principal's office, or they've had some kind of dramatic situation happen. And even then they're bringing, a teenager into me and going, okay, figure this out. And it's like, well, what have you noticed? What have you seen? What do you know to be true about your child? Because a lot of times, once kids get to a place where they can make their own food and figure things out for the most part on their own, parents are like, cool, I did that as long as, and I did the same. I was like, as long as your grades are good, your 2 chores are done, and, your room is for the most part clean. I don't have a whole lot of, I'm not going to pay attention to a whole lot of things you're doing. And as long as, nobody ends up in jail or dead, it seems extreme, but it's true. And then we stop paying attention. Then I'm talking to these teenagers and their parents have no idea who they are, or their parents are not, or haven't been attending to their growing, developing, stressed out, frustrated teenager. I find that interesting. And like I said, I was that parent, at a time. But this is your reminder, your opportunity to recognize where you are directing your attention and what is it that you feel like you might be missing out on or not able to connect with because you're not attending to certain things, right? As we pay attention to our feelings, which is just data, but it's also important data, recognizing, why do I feel frustrated, or why do I feel irritated or drained when I am in the presence of XYZ individual? Why do I feel overwhelmed when I am dealing with someone I am, connected to in an intimate way? Why do I feel overwhelmed in the parking lot of the grocery store? Or why do I feel peace in the parking lot of the grocery store? You have no idea how many parents I have spoken with who will say that they need something from the store just to sit in the parking lot and have 15 uninterrupted minutes to do literally nothing, if not scroll on their phone. That's interesting to me. And I get it. Like, parenting is very challenging and there are lots of parts. But the same is true, like being in a relationship after the parenting is done and kids have moved on. It's funny, I've had retired people come into my office with this laundry list of like frustrations and irritations of, their partner and their kids and blah, blah, blah. And then as we speak about things and kind of shift and put things in their home, they can come back and go, oh, as I'm paying attention to my partner, I recognize that they feel, see, or do things this way. And I, have a little bit more compassion or empathy for them. I remember why I like them. I, can see how we used to have fun and maybe we could do that again. It's a very powerful tool to increase your awareness or attune or direct your attention to something that you want to fix, right? I think about lots of things because my brain is just constantly doing stuff. But I think about like people who will have time off. I think about COVID and there was all these home repairs that happened. Partially it was because people had time. But the other thing is because they were in their homes and they were looking around at the things that needed to be fixed or attended to. The same is true with our relationships. The same is true with our own like physical health, right? There's so many people in the gym right now. I have a client who works in the gym and she's just like, it's like 200% increased in terms of how many people are there. What we all know to be true is that we'll fall away by February, but it is overwhelming to see how many people are in the gym, which is fine. Good on you. I appreciate that you have, new year, new you goals. However, a lot of times people are going back to the gym because they've, overindulged over the holidays. But what they don't recognize is they've been overindulging probably like this whole time. And there are more pictures and they're like, oh my God, I look like shit in that picture. A lot of these like before and after, fitness journey people will acknowledge that like how they looked in one particular picture, which they had not seen themselves in at the time, created a level of selective attention so that they were like, oh God, that's what I look like, right? And for those of us with body dysmorphia, we don't look in the mirror and see things. We usually see it worse than it is. If not, like, we just like pay attention to the one thing. I've had a lot of clients over the years with body dysmorphia and body issues. And what they will say is that they don't look at their body for so many reasons, but they will simply look at their face. And I was one of those for a long time. And I would see myself in parts, but I would never see myself as a whole. And as I have been on my own fitness journey and like doing things, like now I'm so much more comfortable, but I'm also paying attention to how I feel in my clothes, how I feel when I work out, how my joints and muscles and all the things feel as I move my body around, recognizing that there are certain things I need to attend to continue to be healthy. And it's not even about, looking a certain way or having a certain aesthetic. It's literally being healthy. I want, and I continue to want to move my body around and do things. So those are things I pay attention to. But when I have clients in my practice who are avoiding looking at a mirror. I don't encourage weighing yourself if that's how you want to do it. That's fine. Water. What I do encourage is starting to pay attention to how you feel in your clothes, right? It's paying attention to taking a step back a little bit further from just your face and kind of looking at your proportions. Talking to someone about your nutrition, talking to someone about how to move your body around, right? What kinds of exercise and work works for you? I think that's one way to start to pay attention. Having a goal in mind is great, right? Had a friend who wanted to run marathons, hadn't run before ever in his life. I think he did like football in middle school or something, or maybe high school. Anyway, was like, yeah, I want to start running marathons. Well, he didn't start day one running a marathon. He started by running a mile, right? And as uncomfortable and challenging and difficult as that was, he paid attention to what his body did. He paid attention to how he felt. He paid attention to and sought out information on how to be a runner. And now he is, and he's completed several marathons and half marathons and, is prolific at running. But the same is true with anything else that we want to change. When we are uncomfortable enough to pay attention to it, when it becomes starkly obvious that this is a problem, then it is our responsibility to start to attend to it and not just criticize it, right? Because that's the other piece is sometimes when we pay attention to things like, oh my God, how did I let my house get like this? Or, oh my God, how did I let myself get, to this whatever size? How did I let myself stay in this relationship for as long as I have been? I haven't been paying attention. Well, there is a level of grace that you have to give yourself, a level of compassion, a level of acknowledgement that for most of us, we are just getting through. We are just surviving. We are not in that thriving, oh my God, everything is great kind of place, because we've got so many things that are pulling our attention that we can't attend to the things that are probably, hurting us the most. And I've said it before, but like when I have clients, especially retirees who come in, who probably have been living with PTSD for a long time, they are not able to really feel or process it because they're distracted by work. They're distracted by raising kids. They're distracted by all the other things that have happened. And it's not until they have time to attend to themselves does their anxiety start to increase in ways that they are uncomfortable. It becomes a discomfort. And then we have to attend to it, right? It's interesting. I think I shared with you guys, I broke my ankle a couple years ago, and that sucked because I was like walk/running like 3 miles a day, if not 4. And to break my ankle really made me sit down and attend to all the other things that were happening. But it did give me an opportunity to find other workouts and other things. It was uncomfortable because I really do enjoy my walks and runs in the morning, and to not be able to do it was starkly challenging. Like there was a level of depression, there was a level of grief, there was a whole lot of pain, and I figured it out. But it's not until we have something significant happen that we are forced to attend to certain things. And this is your opportunity to start to increase your awareness. Awareness it's an amazing tool, but it is an opportunity to start to reflect on the things that we want to address and change. We cannot change anything if we don't name it, if we don't look at it, if we don't, pay attention, and then, things just continue to happen. It is uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable when we start to pay attention to it. We're like, oh shit, I stubbed my toe on this terrible relationship. Or I, start to recognize that my kid is in the principal's office all the time, or whatever it is, right? That's uncomfortable. But then we have to start to pay attention to, how do we feel? What's going on? What is our behavior? How is our behavior affecting this situation, right? Taking that ownership and, again, selectively and directedly attending to the situation. Because even though most of us will get by, just surviving, on the other side of that is living, and just beyond that is thriving. And it is not impossible for your life to look like that. So there is your nugget. I had a wonderful break in San Diego, which was fantastic. It rained the whole time, but the ocean is still beautiful in the gray of the clouds and the rain. I had wonderful food. I got to hang out with my sister and my niece and my nephew, who continue to be the most entertaining humans. The dog did great on the plane. And yeah, it was a good start to the new year. I'm grateful to have another opportunity to continue doing the things that I love and work with people that I really appreciate, respect, and value. And there have been people who have transitioned out. We're at that like maintenance place. They check in after a couple of months and they're like, I'm actually doing well. And I'm like, cool. Que le vaya bien. Go on and continue to live your life in a good way. I'm here if you need me, right? But it's really nice once they have taken some space between sessions to recognize that they have achieved their goals, right? They have increased their awareness to fix and address the challenges that they were going through. Termination Day is one of my favorite days. So there is a little bit of space in my calendar, which is filling up quickly because all I have to do is open up the panel and then like people start showing up. But, yeah, we're going to do more things. I told you guys last time it was on the 12th. My actual presentation, Codependency for Pros and the Ethical Considerations, is going to be on next Friday, the 16th. From 9 to 11. I said 10 to 12 last time, so it's from 9 to 11. If you go to NMCA, New Mexico Counseling Association, and you are a member, I think it's like $33. If you are not a member and you are a counselor or therapist and you wanted to get 2 CEUs and hear me speak online, you can do it that way. I am working on creating opportunities for me to do the codependency skills workshop again in the community, if not online. I'm working on it. There's so many things happening. You can get the book, Best Intentions of Things I Do for Love, anywhere you get books. Just Google it. You can also email me at lunax2.llc@gmail.com or lx2.cod.coach@gmail.com if you want to get a copy directly from me. There is your nugget, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.